Hello everyone and welcome back. This is a replay, or shall I say review, I would like to make for a pretty long time. However, I decided the best day is today. I will featuring tier 6 and tier 8 carriers, all of them, and I'll also tell you what's the strength and what's the difference between each and every class we have. I'm talking about silver tech, no premium carrier. I will review today only the silver line tech. For some of you guys probably enjoyed playing the carrier, I would like to tell you my experience with them and what's the best and what's the downside. And I will actually talk about tier 6 carriers. The Japanese carriers, in my opinion, are by far the weakest. I repeat again, they are the weakest in many ways. And the reason number one, which makes her kind of a big problem, is that if a destroyer charge a Rugio, it only has one weapon, only one wargaming, not two, not three, not five, only one weapon, and that it's the fighters, the rockets fighters. You cannot deal any damage with the stupid AP bombs or with torpedo. You can just forget. The aiming of the torpedo bombers are brutal. It does not even work for the, let's say, if you want to strike a Royal Navy cruiser, good luck with that. She's too agile for you to make a good drop. And the HP pool of the planes are meh. Of course, you may argue that the torpedo are by far the best. They're dealing more damage. And yeah, most of your damage comes from torpedo bombers. The AP also are brutal, but only versus battleships and some very slow, ships. They turn like a brake. You will do a large of damage, but you have to know what kind of ship. If it's German or Japanese or US, you get the point. Not all they receive a huge amount of AP damage. So for me, the Japanese carriers are by far from tier 6 all the way to tier 10 today's server, not next server, because next server the Haku will receive some love and some buff and probably should be strong again. But as it right now, I can see it definitely the weakest of all line are the Japanese. The second weakest, it's actually the or the second best, shall I say, it's the British. The British, shall I say, let me put it this way, even though the dive bombers, they don't do a whole lot of damage, but some skills players, they will hit a damn destroyer even if it's damn smoke and nuke him for pretty large, at least reset him if it's trying to cap or anything. So what I'm trying to say, a very good skill player will make this dive bomber very good. They are not doing big damage, but they are pretty big percent to put your enemy on fire. So if Fuso or big large battleship are engaged, there's big chance that you will do probably 2 or even 3 fires in one drop. So it's a very good fire start. However, of all carriers, I feel that the rockets planes from the British carriers tier 6 and tier 8 are by far the worst. I mean, even worse than the Japanese one, because at the Japanese one it still have a very close tight aim, but with this one, the problem with what I see with the British carriers, that the plane are kind of a slow, and some heavily armed target like let's say low tier and middle tier Soviet battleship, if you don't aim for the superstructure, you'll do 0 damage, because the penetration of the British rockets plane are mech. You only might put the ship on fire but never do any damage whatsoever for some ships. So it's, shall I say, only versus destroyer and some other slow ships. I feel that when I'm playing the British, I would not like to play rockets plane at all, at least because dive bombers are way better. And the best thing of the British carrier are the torpedo dot or pro. Torpedo guys are absolutely brutal. I will make a video of all three and I'll show you how consistent, how easy it's to aim versus almost everything and everyone. And the best thing, and this is the gimmick with the British carrier, even if you are bow on or sailing straight as a line, in normal cases with Japanese and with especially US, you cannot torpedo that. If say ships sail away, well, with British carrier or torpedo bombers, you can definitely aim. Even if a ship is like this, bow on, sails straight ahead, you might actually hit one, sometimes even two torps. For tier 6 and tier 8, it's the same thing. So torpedo are by far the best. It's easy to aim, and literally you might do a huge amount of damage, even for some very maneuverable ships and Royal Navy cruiser and so on, because the aiming, it's like a sword, it's kind of hard for me to explain, but I do believe you get the point. And then guys, we have the best, and I mean the best in the whole entire line. It's the US carrier, and actually one of my favorite seal clubber, it's actually the Ranger. Ranger used to be a pile of crap a couple patches ago before the CV rework. She could not compare with Regio in power and devastating strike. I remember my old Regio had 6 squads, 3 torpedo bombers, 2 dive bombers, and 1 fighters or something like that. Stupidly strong. You can just, in the old, before the CV rework, you can just go and nuke everything and everyone in one strike if you use all your planes. But now guys, it is what it is. In today's server, the US are by far the best in everything, besides of course torpedo. Though torpedo are kind of a joke, they do very little damage. If you hit a battleship perfectly bound, you bear average between 3 and 4,500 damage one torpedo hit, so, and cause almost always 0 flood. But the strength about this beast, yes, it is a beast. Trust me what I'm saying right now. Versus tier 6 and tier 5's battleship, this thing is almost close to OP because of 2 reasons. Number 1, guys, well, let's go to modules. I explain you what's the best about this Ranger. It's actually the rockets. The rockets are by far the fastest, and they deal pretty damn good damage. And the penetration, it's alright. Armor penetration 27 millimeter, it's fantastic. But the littlest weapon of this beast, it's actually the dive bomber. The dive bombers, guys, are not from this earth. It's almost fireproof. And guys, in today's live version, tiers 5, 6, and hell, even tier 7, 2 dive bombers from 2 strikes from this dive bomber and destroy, it's gone. You do sometimes even more than 10,000 damage with one drop. and it's absolute brute, and most likely you broke the engine and put him on fire. So not just that you do whopping damage, but you have to know where to aim, how to aim. That is not the easiest, especially for versus destroyer. However, if you want to, let's say, strike a battleship, of course sometimes you don't put a fire, but many times you actually put several fires. So the thing makes this Ranger the best carrier tier 6, it's because all her planes are good, not bad. Of course, of all type of planes, the torpedo are the worst. But even with the worst torpedo, you can still do some work. And if you lose all your torps, you still have the rockets. If you lose all your rockets, you still have the dive bombers, which should be the primary armament versus almost everything, even versus the destroyer. And that makes the biggest difference between US line and Japanese line. With Japanese line, you can forget to engage any destroyer whatsoever. You're only gonna do overpanned and close to 0 damage. With this one, you broke the engine, you broke the steering, you break the everything with one heck of a dive bombers, and that makes this thing so lethal. Guys, I would like to say before I go further that today's tier 6 and tier 8 carriers are double sword. I repeat, today's lives meta are a double sword. One is the double sword. On the other hand, when there's two carriers and they are both of them pretty good and staying together with two carriers, I always go to the other friends when I'm playing random, because the AA of two carriers are not a joke. Matter of fact, if two players staying extremely close together, I'm talking about a carrier, the other enemy carrier will have very hard, almost impossible to nuke one carrier, because of the AA are extremely good and they have fighters. However, you will almost be on the top by experience if you're a good tier 6 carrier almost each and every time. You decide who's gonna die and who's gonna live, and you have potential to carry the game. Yes, I repeat, you are the carrier, you carry the game at tier 6. You're facing tier 5s and tier 6, because let's face it, at tier 5, tier 6, very few ships have any AA whatsoever. However, at tier 7 and tier 8, it's different story. At tier 8, if you see USS Massachusetts or North Carolina in your whatever tier 6 carrier you may face, you can just forget it. A matter of fact, I'll go so far, 2 tier 6 carrier cannot kill, I repeat, 2 tier 6 carrier cannot kill 1 tier 8 battleship, even though the entire 20 minutes will be engaged. I'm talking about 2 Rugio versus 1 North Carolina or 1 Massachusetts. Cannot kill a tier 8 battleship, even though he's staying the entire 20 minutes to just engage one ship. Why? It's because the AA level at tier 8 is so much better versus tier 6 planes. They will fall down from the sky before you even come close to that thing. What I'm trying to say, it's the tier 8 US battleship or gods or overpowered in AA versus tier 6, and I know the Wargaming knows it. On the other hand, tier 6 are overpowered versus tier 5's battleships, which they are just farming pinata. And same thing goes, guys, with tier 8. I believe, guys, and this is something that I very much mean it, what I'm saying right now. This ship, Lexington, it's way overpowered when she is top dog. You may argue that there are some pretty hilarious strong Atlantas and some other tier 8 ships, US cruisers line, and you know. But even though, let's say, and here's the deal, when you're top dog in aircraft carrier, not all of them they are tier 8. Few of them, maybe 3, maybe 4 ships are tier 8, rest of them are tier 6 and tier 7s, and that is the damn problem. Tier 8 carrier, doesn't matter which one, guys, will just shit on your AA at tier 6 versus her tier 8. The planes are way too fast, the devastating strike, everything, it's so damn easy to deal damage if you are top dog, and especially if they are 2 carrier in each side. Then actually the carriers decide the entire battle. Why? Because of the skills of the players. They decide who's which team will win or which team will lose. On the other hand, guys, and this is also the same goddamn problem, double sword experience, you will literally be by far on the lower side versus tier 10 ships, because even though, guys, even though you are pretty good in HP, in the speed of Lexington's plane are not bad, versus Worcester's Minotaur, you name it, hell, even versus Kreml and Montana, sure, you may do one strike and all your planes are gone. You cannot return and do the second strike. There isn't gonna work that way. A matter of fact, you'll be very happy if you come up to 50,000 damage the entire game. If all of them they are tier 9 and tier 10 and you're the only one tier 8, because that it's also real. So I have no idea. So you're a god when you're top dog, you're absolutely spotter planes and you lose all your goddamn planes, especially if the enemy have like 2 Worcesters and 1 Minotaur and couple Monties. Then you're screwed. You're so damn screwed. You're never gonna be. What you gonna face? Sure, you may argue that you can fly your planes in a circle and try to spot the enemy. That is the only thing you can do. You can become a damn spotter maniac, but not dealing damage. And then also it's that if you get wrecked, let's say if any battleship spot you or any cruiser, you will get wrecked. You will lose maybe 200,000 to 400,000 damage each and every battle, because you do close to 20,000 or less in the game and you get wrecked. That is also something. And here's the deal, guys, and that is the sad part. A Minotaur has such a good concealment. When you spot her, you already instantly lost 2 planes just in the first 2 seconds. You have very little to react versus a Worcester's or a Minotaur's AA. Once you said, oh shit, you already instantly lost couple planes. And if you don't adjust or speed away, by the way, Wargaming decided to nerf the speed, which basically means that Minotaur in the next patch and Worcester in the next patch will take even more planes down. I mean, sure, you may argue that you have been seeing some cruisers and battleship takes 40 planes in one battle. That's nothing. In the next patch, they do even more because of the nerf of the speed boost. Guys, same thing story over here. This is the best by far, the tier 8 Lexington. She has even more deadly and torps, dive bombers and rocket. And I would like to explain you what's her makes this such a beast, and that it's the truth, guys. The concert tiny team, guys. It's brutal, absolutely brutal versus tier 8 and below ships. Why? It's because of this absolutely stupid penetration. 68 penetration, 33% to put your enemy fire, and maximum damage per rocket 5,400. Now let me put it this way: the aim bloom when you're using those rockets are all over the place. You have to pray RNG god to guide your rockets plane to your enemy. However, if you hit everything you got with those tiny teams, you may actually do as much damage as 15,000 damage. It's not something impossible. It's absolutely brutal. The weakest of all are, of course, same thing with the torpedo, but you have 3 torpedoes now, so even though you only do like 4,500 damage, 3 torpedo hits, it's not a joke. But the biggest of all stuff, and this is absolutely murdering, is the HE bombs. The HE bombs, guys, from this beast, it's absolutely brutal. 52% to put your enemy on fire, armor penetration 53, so you will pan and you'll do full damage and 1 or 2 fires and what the hell not. So what I'm trying to say, guys, all those 3 tools combined makes this Lexington by far the best tier 8 carry in this game. However, for the consistency, and the thing is also makes the rockets pretty damn hilarious, is they are fast. Extremely fast, guys. They are by far the fastest rockets at tier 8, besides some premiums, but I'm not counting versus premium. I'm just talking about the regular tech tree. Implacable, she's a good looking ship. She's the middle of the pack. I still believe that her rockets, plane and fighters are meh. I have no idea why, but they are kind of a damn slow. You are definitely a fire starter with those dive carpet bombers. They do pretty damn good percent to put your enemy on fire, and it's not like you're gonna do huge amount of damage. You have to know how to lead your target. The damage output in damage, it's kind of a meh, but percentage to put your enemy on fire, it's pretty good. The rockets are the kings in the I mean, you may argue that you only have I do believe only two torpedo per attack, but the aiming are absolutely crazy, and this is where the damage comes from. It's actually from torpedoes. You put 1 flood if you're lucky, and then you go with the dive bombers and put several fires. I do like the concealment. I do like the speed of this ship. She does have armored deck, which basically means that if, let's say, another British carrier wants to strike her, you'll do close to 0 damage, but only percent to put your beam of fire. So she's nice. She's very maneuverable and very fast. I'd like to talk about Shukaku. Shukaku's biggest strength, it's actually, believe me or not, it's the rockets. The rockets are absolutely fantastic. The aim bloom and the speed and everything. You will do huge amount of damage versus destroyers or anything light cruiser. The HP pool, it's kind of a mech. Sure, you can do sometimes versus battleship pretty nice, good looking citadels, but you have to know once again who to strike, who to not, because not all battleships are vulnerable to this AP. But the same story, guys. They only have 1 tool versus destroyer, and there is the rocket. The torpedo are great, but not versus light cruisers and not versus any destroyers. They are made for hitting battleship. And that is when you're playing the Japanese carrier line, you have to focus more on the battleship. You will do surprisingly a lot of damage, because the biggest difference between US and it's actually the torpedoes. The torpedoes are fast and they do more damage than almost, shall I say, 80% more damage than the US. This is maximum damage 7,233, but they are fast and they are, and I kind of forgot one thing. This is the stealthiest ship carrier. of all tier 8 ships and the stealthiest plane, so your stealth is your advantage. Sure, you don't have as much HP pool as the British or the US, but it's different play style. You can because of your stealth, which is better than anyone at tier 8, you can use your planes to surprise some peoples. And yeah, it's sad that they are different, which is good for the game. Their AA of this ship itself, it's extremely good. Oh boy, I mean, you don't want to strike another tier 8 carry, especially if you're a tier 6 carry. Don't go for a tier 8, that it's the worst thing you can do. You will lose all your goddamn planes. The AA of this ship, it's unreal good. It's extremely good. So you have no problem to somehow defend yourself. The only, shall I say, downside with her that it's only 2 torpedo bombers. Each strike you only have 2. Kaga have 4. So you get the point, which it's kind of hilarious at tier 8, you know. So guys, that's all for today. Please let me know what you think about the tier 6 and tier 8 carriers. Did I miss anything? I do believe damage wise you almost can do the same amount of damage in all 3 ships. Depend of the map, because a larger map benefits faster planes, and the fastest planes of all are of course the US, and that's where they shine. They have faster plane than the British and the Japanese. Guys, that's all for today. Subscribe to my channel, and the next video I will actually play with all 3 nations carriers. Have a good one, take care, and bye.